千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Once upon a time, in ancient China, there was a sage. So this sage had a group of disciples, and this sage also had a very specific focus on things that are practical, skills that are practical. So this was because it was very important for the sage to have the disciples maintain that practical perspective, to never lose sight of the practical aspects of life. So he would often send them out to the world. He would say, okay, it's time for you to travel the world to learn what you can, and then return here to report on your experience so that the other disciples can learn from what you have learned as well. So this is something that they do frequently. Once in a while, he'll send them out. They would travel all across ancient China to learn what they could and then bring it back to the sage and to the other disciples. This was the background. So one day, the disciples returned at around the same time. So they all got together to share what they have learned. One of the disciples had traveled to the north, to the northern parts of China, and he came back with meditation techniques that he had learned at a distant temple. So he explained the technique to other people, and this was something that was of value to the other disciples. There was another disciple that traveled not to the north, but to the west. He visited a land that was known, that would become known as India, but in ancient times, he came back with a sutra that he had memorized while he was out there. So this was pleasing to the sage. He nodded, he smiled, he said to them, "You have done well." He complimented them. He said, "The knowledge you have brought back is quite valuable." So there was yet another disciple that had come back. He hadn't shared his knowledge yet. He hadn't shared what he learned yet. He was actually sneering at the first two. He seemed quite arrogant, and he said, "Haha, I have brought back a rare skill that will put what you guys have brought back to shame. You're all going to want to learn from me." So they became curious. Everyone was curious. They all crowded around and they asked him, "What is the skill? What is the rare skill that you have learned that puts everything to shame that we're all going to want to learn?" So this disciple said, "Well, I can demonstrate it for you better than I can talk about it. So why don't you all follow me to the nearby river, and I will show you. I will show you my rare skill." So they all went to the nearby river, pretty close to them, and they all watched him as he performed his remarkable skill. He amazed all of them by walking onto the water of the river as if he was walking on land, and continue walking into the river for a distance before coming back. So the sage and the other disciples observed from the bank of the river, and they were all feeling pretty amazed. So this disciple came back and said, "Now you have seen it for yourself. Do you see what I mean now?" So this was the reason for his arrogance. He said to the master, "Master, what do you think? Was that not the most valuable skill you have ever seen? Tell me, master, how much do you think it is worth?" So as they came out to the river, they had passed by quite a few ferrymen who plied their trade by the banks of the river. So the sage called out to the nearest one, the one closest to them. And the sage asked, "How much does it cost to cross the river today?" So the one who responded, one of the ferrymen who responded, shouted back. He said, 2 coins, the same today as yesterday, the same as always, 2 coins. So then the sage turned back to the arrogant disciple and said, "There you have it. You asked me how much I think the skill is worth. This rare skill you have demonstrated is worth 2 coins." The end. So this story is told by Tao masters to make a very specific point. The point is that the Tao cannot be found in the flashy tricks, extraordinary feats. The Tao instead is found in the ordinary, and that is where it is the most extraordinary. Now you may think to yourself, hey, walking on water, that's a pretty good trick. Yeah, and that's the key. Now this trick, even though the story was set in ancient times, it is something that is done today. It applies today as well. Quite a few magicians have demonstrated this skill of walking on water. So as an example, one particular magician by the name of Dynamo, stage name Dynamo, had done walking on water on the River Thames in London. He was recorded doing this performance, and he was shown literally walking on water. And he wandered into the river quite a distance before being rounded up by a patrol boat and taken into custody. Then there's another magician, stage name Chris Angels, who demonstrated the same illusion by walking on water in a pool. So in a pool where people are still swimming back and forth, he walked on water back and forth. Now, because I said that these were done by magicians, you know that they were done as part of their magic repertoire. You know that it's not something that's, it doesn't literally violate the laws of physics, right? There's no doubt about the fact that these displays have entertainment value. No problem with that. We can all enjoy the performance. The only thing to watch out for is to mistake something like this with the Tao. The Tao would not be anywhere near so flashy. The Tao will be ordinary. It would not be for entertainment purposes. So while we can still enjoy the performance of the walking on water magic, at the same time, we also want to come back to practical reality and focus on the Tao. That is something that can be done every day, all the time, and doesn't rely on magic. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.